Hey everybody, this is Gunnar with On the Brink Games, and I'm bringing you a modern deck tech with Little Kid Junk featuring Doran. If you guys don't know what Little Kid Junk is, it is not the control you mid-range deck, it is the aggro deck that features Whitley Fleege. This deck is actually very different from the standard one just because it has Doran the Siege Tower in it. So I'm going to go over the instants and sorceries first before I get into the creatures. So we run 3 Path to Exile, best removal spell in the format, right next to Lightning Bolt. We're not playing red, so Path is the go-to. We have 4 Inquisition of Kozilek here, a very premium hand disruption spell. It's great, hits everything below 3 though, but also in it being Inquisition and not Thoughtseize, it will save us life against a burn matchup, and that is probably what we need to win that matchup, is just this 2 life saved and I get rid of, let's say, a 4 mana burn spell or a turn 1 Wild Nacatl or something along the lines of a Eidolon, something like that. And then we have 4 Lingering Souls. Lingering Souls is a very, I would say, close to one of the best cards in Modern. It ruins so many matchups, like Control has such a hard time dealing with it. Creature matchups that don't have trample have a crazy hard time dealing, like getting through enough damage to win, because if we go late we have great creatures, so it's very hard for them to win. So, and then we have 3 Erupt Decays. Erupt Decay is a premium removal spell. I know it only hits 3 or less, but it can't be countered and is great against the Splitting Twin matchup. And then we have 1 Sorin Solemn Visitor. Sorin can really crush anything that is a race, or anything that's like, oh, the board's clogged, blah blah blah, and then you're like, Sorin plus attack with lifelink +1 everything, and they're like, oh well, good game, and you're like, yep. Or you're attacking each other back and forth racing, and someone has a turn advantage, and then you play Sorin and that advantage is gone, and they literally just lose on the spot. So Sorin is a great card, and I'm glad they printed it. Then we go over to my 1-drops. I have 1 Birds of Paradise. The mana can be rough in this deck just because I'm playing 3 Gavony Townships as colorless lands, and I do want to be able to cast Doran on 3 mana pretty regularly, and I also want to be able to cast Voice of Resurgence. So there's 1 Birds of Paradise, and then there is 4 Noble Hierarchs. Noble Hierarch produces 2 of our colors, but also is great in that it gets pumped up by Doran, so it actually attacks for 2 instead of 1 by itself if I play Doran and with the Exalted trigger. So Doran's great, or Noble Hierarch is great, but Doran is also great. I'm playing 1 Tassiger, also gets better with Doran, and the ability is great in very grindy matchups, and the ability to cast it for possibly 1 mana is also very great. I'm playing 4 Voice of Resurgence. This card is great against control, aggro matchups. It's really what you want to see on turn 2. They literally can't play spells on your turn unless they want to be buried in advantage. So Voice of Resurgence, one of the strongest cards probably printed in the past couple years. Whitley Fleege here. It's a 4/4. If it gets discarded from my hand, it comes into play if my opponent makes me discard it. It's a 4/4, pumps everything that shares is a white or a green creature, makes all of my creatures even more of a monsters. Great card for 4 mana. The other 4 mana spell I have is Siege Rhino, probably one of, like Voice of Resurgence, great card, insane for its mana, drain 3, gain 3, it's a 4/5 with trample. It's the bee's knees. It's great. And especially if you draw 2 Rhinos, you're usually probably winning every game. So I really want to see Rhino almost every game. We also are playing Doran, the Siege Tower, which this deck is pretty much made around. It's an 0/5 for 3. It's a legendary creature, Tree Folk Shaman. But each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So that is insane. That makes my Siege Rhinos attack for 5. That makes my Tasker attack for 5. Doran is a 5/5. Makes my Noble Hierarchs attack for more. My Birds of Paradise attack for more. It's great. And if we go over here to some hidden cards, which is 3 Spellskites, it also makes my Spellskites even better. Like, Spellskite is probably one of the most premium cards in so many matchups. It crushes Boggles, crushes Splinter Twin, is pretty good against Burn, is a great blocker for 2 mana, and I can activate it with my Noble Hierarch for free without taking 2 Phyrexian life. This card is with Doran becomes a 2 mana 4/4. It's just great. Fantastic cards. And then let's move over to the lands. You see that I'm playing 3 Gavony Townships. This is a creature deck, and with all the Lingering Souls tokens, etc., I can really grind someone out with Gavony Townships. If they're not attacking, I'm not attacking. My creatures are just getting way too big sooner or later where I'm going to be able to attack, and I'm going to win the combat. Then I'm playing 2 Stirring Wildwoods, also great with Doran. They get bigger. 1 Treetop Village, just to get in there with Trample. And 1 Murmuring Bosk. If you guys don't know what this card is, it's a land, and the creature type is forest, so I can get it with my Windswept Teeth or Verdant Catacombs. As Murmuring Bosk enters the battlefield, you may reveal a Tree Folk, being Doran, from your hand, and it doesn't enter the battlefield tapped. So I can pretty much get a tri-land with a fetch land in Modern without taking 2 life, and as long as I have Doran on the field, so card is great. Murmuring Bosk is one of the better lands if you have Doran. Alright, let's go over to the sideboard. We have 1 Fracturing Gust for any Boggles or artifact matchups, like Lantern, Control, Affinity, etc. A Golgari Charm, creature matchups, control matchups, and Boggles matchups, etc. Choke is for any deck that's playing Islands, Fish, Splinter Twin, Delver of Secrets, etc. Curse of Death's Hold is for creature matchups, also great against Infect. Let me name the decks that it's fantastic against. It's fantastic against Infect. It's fantastic against the Abzan Collected Company deck. It's great against the Elves deck. It's great against Affinity, if I didn't say that already. And I think that's all the decks that really stand out in my mind right now, of being like just game-winning, crushing, they can't win anymore. Memoricide against control decks, I can just name their combo piece and they can't win anymore, like Ad Nauseam, etc. Dark Blast against creature matchups like Delver of Secrets, etc. Leyline of Sanctity against Jund, anything that's wanting to attack my hand or my life, aka Burn also. Timely Reinforcements is great against creature matchups and Burn matchup, gain 6 life, and etc. Roll of Laws for Storm and any degenerate combo deck that wants to play a lot of spells in one single turn. If people don't know what Roll of Law is, it's a 3-mana enchantment that each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. And 2 Stony Silence for the Tron matchups and Affinity matchups. And any deck that, like Lantern Control 2, also uses artifacts abilities. Alright, so this is the Abzan Little Kid aggro featuring Doran. So it's Little Kid with his big brother Doran. Junk. And I'm going to take this through a Modern 8-man event. Stay tuned. This is Gunnar with On the Brink Games.